Across the streets of New York, through the classrooms of London, in the quiet corners of Europe, something is happening. A quiet tide is rising. A silent revolution is stirring, not with violence, not with slogans, not with political power, but with peace, with purpose, and with prayer. Islam is touching hearts in the West. You may ask, why? Why now? Why here? There is a void that wealth cannot fill. There is a thirst that technology cannot quench. The modern world has built taller buildings but lower morals. It has reached the stars but lost sight of the soul. And so men and women are searching, not for more noise, but for stillness, not for more freedom, but for truth. And in that search, many are discovering Islam, not as a culture, not as a tradition, but as a complete way of life. They read, they reflect, they walk into a mosque, they hear the Quran, and something within them moves, not because of pressure, not because of propaganda, but because the message speaks to their soul. It tells them you were created for a purpose. You are not just a number, not just a consumer. You are a soul honored by God. They see Muslims fasting in Ramadan, not for diet, not for show, but for discipline. They see people praying 5 times a day, not to impress others, but to reconnect with their Creator. They hear about the Prophet Muhammad not as a warrior, but as a mercy to mankind, a teacher, a man of character, love, and justice. And they say, this is what I've been missing. This is what my heart was searching for. It's not an invasion, it's an invitation. It's not a conquest, it's a calling. And that, my friends, is why Islam is growing in the West. This is not just a trend, this is a testimony. A testimony that even in the most materialistic corners of the world, the spirit is alive, the soul is not dead, and truth, no matter how long it's buried, always rises. So if you hear the call, don't fear it. If you feel the stir in your heart, don't silence it. Seek, learn, ask, and you may just find, like so many others, that what you were searching for was searching for you all along. This is not just a silent revolution, it is a spiritual awakening, and it's only just beginning. Islam's rise in the West is not through force, but through faith. By quietly awakening the human heart to purpose, peace, and truth. This is not a loud revolution. There are no armies marching, no banners waving, no leaders declaring a takeover. Instead, there is something far more powerful at work. The sincere transformation of the human soul. People who once lived in confusion and chaos are finding clarity. People who once drowned in noise and distraction are now discovering the beauty of silence, prayer, and self-awareness. This change is not happening in stadiums or on political stages. It is happening in the hearts of individuals, one by one, through quiet reflection and deep searching. In an age where materialism dominates, where success is measured in likes and followers, where people chase pleasure but suffer silently in their souls, a growing number of individuals in the West are turning toward Islam. Why? Because it answers the very questions modern life fails to address. What is my purpose? Why am I here? What happens after death? What is true peace? These are not questions that wealth can solve. They are not answered by entertainment nor by the ever-changing philosophies of modern trends. These are spiritual questions, and they demand spiritual answers. Islam provides those answers, not with vague metaphors or poetic riddles, but with direct, powerful truths. It teaches that every human being is born with a natural inclination toward belief in one God, what the Quran calls the fitrah. This belief is not imposed, it is already there, like a seed waiting for rain. And when people hear the teachings of Islam about the oneness of God, about the purpose of life, about accountability, mercy, and justice, something inside them begins to awaken. They begin to see that life is not random, that every breath has meaning, that hardship has purpose, that faith is not a burden but a lifeline. They start to realize that Islam is not just a religion, it is a way of life, a holistic, balanced path that addresses the mind, the body, and most importantly, the soul. Many people in the West grew up surrounded by information, but lacking meaning. They were taught how to make a living, but not how to live. They were told to be independent, but not whom to depend on. In this spiritual vacuum, Islam enters not as a forceful intruder, but as a healing light. It doesn't demand submission through fear, it invites understanding through knowledge. People read the Quran often in secret and they cry, not because someone scared them, but because they recognize the truth they've been missing all along. It speaks to their inner self. It gives them dignity, discipline, and a connection to their Creator that no amount of money or status ever gave them. And it's not just the message of Islam, it's also the way Muslims live their faith that touches people. They see Muslims fasting in Ramadan, controlling their desires, staying patient, and showing compassion to others. They see families praying together, children respecting elders, communities supporting each other. They watch people waking up before dawn just to stand in silence and pray to their Lord, not for show, but out of love. These acts, though simple, have a profound effect. In a world that glorifies selfishness and instant gratification, such discipline and devotion are rare and deeply attractive. This is how Islam is spreading, not through power, but through example, not through noise, but through calm. Someone convinced them with clever words, but because the message filled a space that had been empty for too long. So when we speak of Islam's growth in the West, we are not talking about numbers or charts. We are talking about lives being transformed, about people who once felt lost now finding direction, people who lived in fear now living with hope. It is a silent revolution, not on the streets, but in the soul. And that kind of revolution cannot be stopped because it is not driven by human will alone. It is guided by divine truth, quiet, steady, and full of purpose. This is the power of Islam touching hearts in the West. Motivational, educational tone with a reflective and soul-touching delivery. This silent revolution is led by seekers of meaning, not missionaries of war. People hungry for a deeper connection with their Creator. In the West, for generations, religion has often been treated as tradition, formality, or cultural identity. For many, it became more about routine than reflection, more about ceremony than conviction. But as the modern world races ahead, offering people everything from comfort to convenience, a silent hunger is growing within. A hunger not for more possessions, but for more purpose. People are beginning to ask deeper questions, questions that material success cannot answer. Is this all there is? Who am I beyond my job, my status, my image? What happens when the lights go out and I am alone with my thoughts? In this quiet storm of questioning, Islam is finding its way into hearts. Not because someone is forcing it, but because people are sincerely searching for something real, something rooted, something timeless. They are not being driven by external pressure, but by an internal emptiness that demands to be filled. They are not looking for a new label or a new identity. They are looking for a truth that resonates, a path that aligns with their innermost voice. And when they encounter Islam, they find not a foreign religion, but a message that feels strangely familiar, as if their soul had always known it, but just needed to be reminded. They see a faith that is not based on blind belief, but on deep understanding. A faith that invites you to think, reflect, question, and seek knowledge. A faith that teaches balance between the heart and the mind, between this world and the next. They find in Islam a connection with the Creator that is intimate and direct. No need for intermediaries, no complex hierarchies, just you and the one who made you. You speak to Him in prayer. You turn to Him in difficulty. You thank Him in joy. He becomes your anchor in the storm, your light in the darkness. This is what the seekers in the West are discovering. And they're not just scholars or spiritualists. They are everyday people, students, doctors, teachers, artists, athletes, people who quietly begin their journey by reading a translation of the Quran or listening to a short clip about the Prophet Muhammad. They hear the call to prayer on a street or witness the calm of Muslims during a crisis, and something within them shifts. They begin to explore, not out of curiosity alone, but out of need, a spiritual thirst that years of worldly achievements could not quench. And they are not entering Islam through mass movements or grand campaigns. They are coming one by one, soul by soul, sometimes quietly, sometimes secretly, but always sincerely. And when they embrace Islam, they do so not for show, not for society, but for their own salvation. Their stories are powerful because they are honest. Many of them left behind comfort, family expectations, and social norms to follow what they believe is the truth. That kind of courage does not come from compulsion, it comes from conviction. This is why the revolution is silent, because it is not in the streets, but in the hearts. It is not marked by noise or spectacle, but by deep personal transformation. These seekers are not angry or aggressive. They are thoughtful, peaceful, and purposeful. They are not trying to convert the world. They are simply trying to connect with the Creator and live a life of meaning, morality, and mercy. And what's even more beautiful is that many of them, after embracing Islam, become examples of its true character. They treat others with kindness. They serve their communities. They become bridges between cultures and faiths. Their transformation becomes a quiet testimony to the power of Islam, not as a religion of division, but as a source of peace and unity. This is why Islam is spreading in the West, not through fire or fear, but through the fire of longing within the human soul. Not because it's imposed, but because it's discovered. This silent revolution is not a threat to society. It's a healing of